stereotypical idea, vision of Portuguese?
Well, you know, I've been touring the world for 32 years, and in the beginning, I just couldn't tell the difference between anything. You know, anything that wasn't like what I knew was just different. You know, food, language, architecture, art, was very ignorant, you know. But after a while, you know, you start to understand that, you know, Italy's got some really good coffee, you know, and France has some great food. And the people in different parts of the world have different collective consciousness. You know what I mean? They have a different look, you know, they have a different language, you know, and you start to feel the culture. And in my travels, if I'm in Japan, I feel the culture. If I'm in Turkey, I feel it. Australia, you know, Germany is very different than France, very different than Italy. I should say very different. But when you become tuned in, you can sense the differences. And I would have to say probably the nicest people in the world are Australians. They're just very tolerant of tourism. They're almost too nice, you know. But when I was doing the Alive and an Ultra World record and I was studying various cultures and I was studying Portugal, this phrase, brandos costumes, came up. And it means gentle ways. And it was a phrase that was applied to the Portuguese people because... Yes, yeah. And I read about the people. And when I started reading about the people, you know, you think, oh, this is just a book. Oh, this is but then when you go, you really feel, like I say, it's the collective consciousness. It's in the air, it's in the vibration, you know? And I just love coming here, you know, because the people are very, there is a softness in a way.
Yes.
But there's also an independence. You know, Portugal is very independent. You can't, you know, but, you know, as far as being wrought with, you know, all the wars that took place in Europe, you know, that wasn't really, so that has an effect, you know. So it's a really sweet place to come, you know, and I really always look forward to it. And it shows at the audiences. You'd be surprised, maybe you wouldn't be surprised, how different, like, Portugal is from Spain. I mean, Spain is very, very, very different, you know, and it's just like right over the border, you know. I mean, there's beautiful things about Spain, you know. I find beauty in every culture.
I know you have Italian roots.
Yeah.
Do you feel connected to Southern Europe culture, especially the
I feel connected to the Latin communities in general.
Okay.
You know, I mean, my parents' parents were all from Italy. So, you know.
Both were from Italy.
Yes.
Okay.
So, you know, as you're growing up in American, and, you know, in America there's everything.
Yes.
You know, your neighbors are Irish from one side, maybe they're African American on another side, they're Polish on another, it's just everything. And there's a real beauty in that too, you know? But a lot of times, there's a nationalistic pride in people. You know? You know, I'm Italian, you know, I'm American.
Yes.
You know, but my roots are in Italy, so I'm Italian, so everything in Italy is, you know, great. And then you go to Italy and you realize you're American. Italians are very different than Americans, you know, and but you do feel connected somehow. I mean, I always adored Italy, you know.
Even the food you used to eat Italian food in your home when you were a child?
We ate Italian food. We had a lot of Italian sort of traditional things.
Yes.
Because, you know, we speak with our hands, we fight and then we make up, you know, and you know, it's very Italian, you know, the holidays and all that stuff. But it's not like Italy, you know. Italy is very different, you know. I mean, it's the collective consciousness, you know, the whole culture has a feel, and it's beautiful.
Let's talk about technology. Do you think you are using a lot of technology in your music? And to what extent technology is a requisite to create something original today?
Yeah. Well, technology has always been present in one form or another. Even in the beginning when people started, you know, making piano rolls, that was a form of technology. And they probably thought at that time that that was the greatest thing that was ever going to happen. But obviously, you know, then they started making records and then cassettes and then CDs and, you know, etc. The way that we create music and the tools we use and the way that we record it and capture it, and the way that we distribute it and the way that we listen to it will constantly be in flux. It will constantly change. We always think that that we've reached the pinnacle. There's always somebody that says, no, I have a better idea, you know, and that will always happen. So a musician uses technology that's available to them. Sometimes, you know, they can even beat together two rocks, you know, or they can use a room full of computers, you know. But it doesn't matter. Whatever is interesting to them. And I use both. I use everything I can. Sometimes technology just makes things so much easier. You know, your creative tools just explode. Just explode. And I've seen it over the past 32 years that I've been recording, you know, and I love it. You know, and sometimes it can complicate things. You know. But the one thing that will always be in need and that will never change is the inspiration to make a piece of music or a piece of art or anything that we do that's creative. You know, that doesn't come from technology at all. Technology can aid and inspire to a degree, but the actual creative inspiration only comes from one place.
Yes. You can tell us where this place is?
Well, I'm not an authority on these things, but I have some suspicions, and there's things that make sense to me, spoken by people who are a lot more clear and aware of reality than I am. But if you read, and if you read between the lines, the teachings of all the great prophets, all of them, you know, it's Jesus or Moses or Mohammed or, you know, Buddha or Eckhart Tolle, you know, they all are saying the same thing. That underneath the form of the physical, underneath the mind, underneath the identity, underneath the ego, is just this one pure, timeless, spaceless consciousness that is everything. And everything stems from it, and it is expressing itself through everything and everybody. And whenever we go to do something creative, that's where it comes from. It's in all of us. I mean, they all said it. It's so obvious, you know. It's the kingdom of heaven is within, or whatever, you know. So whenever we create something, if you notice, when you go to create something, there is a moment, an elusive moment of clarity. Whether it's a song, or you're going to have to edit this interview, and you're going to have to be putting together certain things in your mind of how, you know, it makes sense to you, you know, and you'll be using a creative side, and you do things in your life that are very creative. Yes. At that moment of creativity, you're in a timeless dimension. You're not thinking of a lot of different, you're just, and that's that space, and that's where it comes from.
Yes, space, an idea of a strong concept of space is present in your compositions, isn't it? Space, freedom.
Well, that's up to the critics to decide. But for me, you know, I just try to do my best to find the inspiration for things that are interesting and exciting to me. Okay. And whenever we do that, and everybody does it, it's the universe expanding itself.
Okay. Yeah. When you are playing, especially on concerts, do you have images about things? Where?
Well, what I think about when I perform has changed through the years, you know. A lot of times, you know, we have this little voice in us that, you know, the ego, whatever, that's the mind is running around to a lot of different things. Okay, I mean, you know, is it going to be a good show? What are they going to think, you know? What's that guy in the front that's sitting there like that thinking, you know? Oh, he's the one that's going to blog all that, you know, am I going to sell records for, you know, am I going to be accepted? Do I look good? You know, is it, you know, does it sound good? You know, all these and a portion of your attention is focused on that. In my life, a big portion used to be focused on it. But through the years, that attention, you only have the ability to focus on one thing at a time, as fast as the mind moves around, you know. The thing that I find that gives me the most pleasure, and the thing that I find that makes me most inspired and gives me the best performance, and I believe gives the people the best experience, is when I'm in that quiet place. Okay. you know, where I'm not buying into the noise of my mind. And it's this beautiful connection. It's like a hyper-awareness of playing,
Okay.
you know, and just letting it kind of go. I wish I could tell you I was like that all the time,
Okay.
but I'm a work in progress.
So changing creations of other rock musicians still surprise you, especially the younger creations of younger rock musicians are surprising you today?
Well, everything, there's a lot of things that surprise me, you know, and one of the things that surprises me most is, you know, when you're in a particular, if you're lucky enough to be in a particular time where you're at the top of your game and you're sort of carving a path, you think that you're elite, you know?
Yes.
But then all of a sudden, another generation comes along and they're thinking much quicker.
Yes.
And they're using technology in ways that you don't have the, you know? I see it in my kids, you know? They're just amazing, you know? They're smarter, they're sharper, and they're more aware. I mean, to a degree. They're still, you know, unaware of certain things that you can only get through time and experience. But yeah, I hear musicians, young musicians doing extraordinary things, you know.
And can you tell us some relevant names to you today in the rock scene?
Devin Townsend, you know, when I listen to his music, I'm just like, wow, that guy is in touch, you know. There's this whole underground movement of metal that I get music from my kids.
Yes,
And my one son, Julian, he listens to all this really hardcore progressive metal. And some of it's just great. It's weird stuff, but it's like beautiful. He listens to like weird bands like I Wrestled a Bear Once or something like that. You know, and then my other kid comes on fire and he has all this great, he's like into techno, trip hop and house music. But they're very discerning listeners, so like he brought me Skrillex. You know, I'm listening to this, I'm thinking, this guy's like a Stravinsky. You know, the way that he's taking these sounds and you know, and layering them, you know. And, you know, there's artists in all those fields, you know.
You used to sit to listen to music, to sit quiet, just to listen to music.
It's according to where I am and what I'm doing. When I'm on tour, I do occasionally put the headphones in and I listen to, I usually don't get to listen to much new music. If I have time to listen to music, I usually listen to Tom Waits or Devin, you know, or some very contemporary classical music by like these composers like Mangus Lindberg and Georgie Ligeti and Stravinsky and Varese, and that's the stuff that really stimulates me. But when I'm home, I got this really great stereo system. It's gigantic. I put on music and it's just wow.
Okay.
So I can listen to anything and it's good.
And do you feel an increased responsibility in terms of a legacy for posterity to the younger generations? Or you just play and that's all?
Well, you know, I get asked that question, you know, how do you want to be remembered when you're dead? You know? Frankly, I don't really care because it's not going to matter to me then. You know, I think that the most important thing is the right now, and doing your best to be, you know, as creative as you can now, and just finding what's interesting, because then you're doing the universe's works, and to a degree, you know what I mean? And I'm very, very grateful to be in a position where there's people who are actually interested in what I'm doing. You know, some people, it's a small group, but it's a very powerful group. And that's a real honor and a privilege, you know. So I do my best, and you discover that what they want is what you're interested in. So I do my best for them right now. And that's it, you know, I mean, in the future, I mean, it's nice to think that, you know, somebody in 50 years might find one of your records or a catalog and go, oh, I like this, you know, that's fine, but it's not going to matter to me.
Okay.
I'm not out to change the world.
I understand. I understand. Could you describe your daily routine when you are at home working?
When I'm home?
Yes.
Oh, yeah, it's wonderful. It's changed now because my boys are in college.
Yes.
It's just me and my wife in a big house, you know. So I wake up and then we spend a little time having coffee and talking, and then I go and I meditate for a while. And then I answer some emails and eat a little bit, and then I go and I work out. You know, I'll either go to the gym or I'll run or something. I like doing that. Yeah. And then I start working. Usually that's around noon. And then I work until, no, I mean it's earlier, 10, and then I have a little tiny lunch break. And then I work until dinner, and I get to spend some time with my wife again.
You cook your food, your vegetarian food?
Yeah, no, my wife cooks for me.
Okay.
Yeah, I like to cook, but I don't have the time.
Yes, okay.
And then after dinner, I go back to work, and then at night we go to sleep. And over the past few years, I started to take Sundays off, which was big for me. But now it's like, when Sunday comes around, nobody's allowed to come near the house, and we don't answer phones or anything. My wife and I we go out, we do whatever we want, you know, and that's really lovely.
Okay, besides Eckhart Tolle, what other kinds of books you enjoy to read, or other kind of fiction or
I don't
poetry?
read, I can't remember the last time that I read a novel. I don't think I mean, it hasn't been decades. It's just totally uninteresting. Okay. You know, the last novel I started to read, which I plan on finishing, is one that my previous manager wrote, Ruta Sepetys. It's called Between Shades of Grey. She was my manager for 21 years, and we were like brother and sister, you know. And then she wrote this book, and it blew up. It became really popular. So now she's more of an author, you know. But that's about the only thing I'm interested in reading. But I do read a lot, but it's not that kind of stuff.
So kind of religious thing?
Well, I wouldn't say religious, but I mean, I went through a period where I read a lot about religions, just to understand. But usually it's more the core. You know, I'm inspired by people who I believe are in touch with their core. You know, and I mean, you mentioned Eckhart Tolle. I mean, I think that he's one of the planet's greatest jewels. You know, I like Dr. Wayne Dyer, The Teachings of Abraham. You know, and there's quite a bit.
Okay, so thank you.
Thank you.
Mm-hmm.